we've talked a lot about systems and CRM, but that's just part of the way that AI is changing revenue development. And I think search and discovery is a really big area. And to say search is changing is probably a bit of an understatement. I know many of you here have been involved with search and SEO for many, many years. I mean, we're starting to talk about organic search, not as organic search, but now as discovery within Innovation Visual, because it really is about discovery. And the change that is happening within the search and discovery space is actually being driven by underlying AI, even if we don't necessarily notice it. But the most obvious thing of the use of AI is actually the AI overview. So I'm sure all of you have seen these. So 2024, they came out and they bring this wealth of information that's been generated from the top results, which has really annoyed the publishers, because they're like, well, we wrote this baseline stuff and you're not allowing people to get to our sites. Not only that, but it's pushing the organic results further and further down the page. Now, you can see things where it's, there's a link and it's citing references there. But people aren't necessarily going to it. And there's a lot of controversy about AI overviews from different factors. I mean, one of the things is when it doesn't get it right. So, I'm a beekeeper and I can spot things potentially that are wrong, but there were some classics like using glue to thicken your pizza cheese. I don't think the AI overview got that one right. So, it's a very interesting thing, but it's a massive change in search. Reddit is a big factor now in search because people are searching and wanting the genuine human response because they're not necessarily trusting brands. Google's results have reflected this because now Reddit is appearing much more frequently within the responses. And if you think about it, best beekeeping books, the context here, the headline is what 2 books would you recommend for beekeeping? So your old school thinking of keywords and stuff like that isn't relevant. This is about entity search coming in here. And then Google understanding that trust and relevance is really important to people. Social platforms. So people are spending a lot of time on these platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest, but they're using them for discovery. So if you're thinking about organic and organic as discovery, you need to start thinking about these platforms and how you can use them. People like them because they're so visual, they're so engaging. And then they can follow on and get more advice from some of these influencers. There are, again, some difficulties. Things like the algorithms, again, AI-driven machine learning, becomes echo chambers. So if you start going down something which is incorrect, actually you can have that incorrectness or bias being reinforced to you. But people are using these social platforms a lot. And then there's a lot of talk about chatbots or large language models for search. So it's really interesting because you can have conversations. And you can have conversations without that other person judging you. So you can be a complete beginner when it comes to doing these things. And you can have that conversation. And people like that human interaction, if you like, but with a non-human. But again, there can be issues. Snack boxes aren't always called supers. Soup are the ones honey comes out of. Brood boxes are the ones that the bees live in. I should know because I was fighting them yesterday at 9 o'clock last night. So if I look a bit tired, it's because I had some absconding bees yesterday. I did keep bees, by the way, for those of you who are not relevant. I don't just randomly find bees in the countryside. So what's the data then about search? So in terms of the social media aspect of it, 41% using TikTok as a search engine. But here's the interesting thing. It's really differential depending on the age groupings that you're looking at. But remember, this isn't just a B2C thing where it's like, oh, well, you know, people are buying my, I don't know, enterprise software. They're not going to be searching on TikTok. Well, if they're millennials, they might be actually, because they're starting to go into these platforms and trusting them. So you shouldn't just make the assumption that this is purely for you know, consumer goods. And Instagram as a search engine, 36%. You know, it's no longer just flicking through pretty pictures and videos. It's actually searching on these platforms. So how do we make use of that? Then in terms of the authenticity, this is the Reddit search traffic. I mean, I think we'd all like 690% increase in organic traffic in 2 years. But this is because it is becoming a really, really trusted source. So whether your customer is searching for where's the best place to get a wig from, or how do I make sure that I can rent a property in the UK, they're not just going to Google for these answers, they're going to places like Reddit, they're going to these social media platforms. And then we've got the big thing of the content. So Gen AI changing search, part of that is also the Gen AI transforming how we're creating the content. Now, you saw Chris create all of that content in 36 seconds. What's the end result when everybody's starting to do that kind of thing? Well, it's the flood of content online making those search results more and more, should we say, busy. What's going on with it? So Google used to look at AI-generated content and go, well, that looks a bit spammy, but now actually can it really tell? But also, is it really good? Like Clotilde was saying, you can do deep research, then you can put your human input into it, and then you can create a really good article because you've managed to read that whole 300-page report, condense it down, and you've been smart about how you've done it. So AI-generated content is not necessarily dumb content that Google won't rank. So what's it going to mean to us as people that want to drive our businesses forward, drive the revenue forward? Well, the bad news is it's dropping. This, for anybody who gets a lot of their traffic and then ultimately conversions and leads through organic, go back and look at how much revenue you're getting from the organic search like channel on your Google Analytics, because you're going to have half of it. So where are you going to substitute that? How are you going to change that going forward if you're going to lose half the traffic from that? And you're finding that, you know, people are using these conversational search features, so they're asking Google multiple times, getting AI overviews, or they're going to things like large language models, ChatGPT. So how are we going to deal with that? And 60% of EU searches was zero click. And what we mean by that is you search on Google, so people are still searching on Google, so Google gets a tick in the box, but they're not going on to a website providing content. So the answer's coming there. This has been happening for many, many years. This is things like the exchange rate being provided. That was an early thing. Hotels, that's now provided on that results page. All of these things, putting a map up there, putting the phone numbers up there so you don't actually have to go to somebody's site. But now with AI overviews, it's gone down even more. So all of these things are conspiring to stop people coming to your site from organic search. But Google's still doing okay because people are still searching on Google. They're just not getting to your website. So you can't just say, oh, Google's dying. Google's not dying, but your benefit from Google is dying. So what we're seeing here is this real change. It's diversification of behavior. So where it was the absolute prominent force, if you nailed your organic strategy, you were nailing it, you were getting great leads, you were getting great conversions because you were getting the right type of leads in. It's now much more complicated, much more messy, I'm afraid. So people are overwhelmed by information. They want direct answers. That's why they like AI overviews. That's why you as individuals, read those AI overviews. But now they're expecting more personalised responses. So how can you deliver that? We've started to touch on these things already with things like agents and with personalised websites. But people want personalisation. And they want answers they can trust. Now, maybe they don't know the difference if they're a beginner in beekeeping, whether it's supers or brood boxes, but they want something to come from somewhere that they trust. And there's a desire to connect and have conversations. And when you actually look at the search behavior on things like ChatGPT, there's actually a really interesting factor of when people are having searching conversations, they have much longer prompts, they have much longer interactions with multiple inputs. So this is the answer. You want the answer from me, don't you? What do we do? What do we do, Tim? Well, for a start, we've got to optimize by building for brand. So this is now about optimizing for AI engines as well as building brand so brand stands up in the marketplace for you. And it's not easy. Like, building your brand even more is not easy. But you need to embrace the AI tools because you've got to move forward. You can't say, well, I don't agree with this AI-generated content. Not if you want to win, because you're going to get left behind. It's like saying, I'm going to carry on racing on my push bike when everybody else is on motorbikes. Yeah, you can do it out of principle, but you're not going to win the race. But this is a really key thing. Diversify content formats. So de-risk by going for different things, different platforms, different content formats. It's really, really crucial now. You've got to be in more places. So then understand your audience. So we've talked about personalization. We've talked about the need to really engage on a deeper level. Well, you've got to think about it in order to do that, because then from that understanding, you can do good personalization. You know, nobody wants to get those messages, whether it be a sales message or whether it be a message on a website that isn't relevant, that's trying to be personalized but isn't. And it's quality. Quality, quality, quality. If there are 1 million pages trying to rank for a result, don't just make a page, because there's only 10 organic results. And if there's 1 million, you've got to be in the top point. Won't do the maths, 0.000%. Get Pete to do the maths, he's always good at that stuff. So how has AI changed search into discovery then? You've got to think about organic traffic, not organic search now. It's organic traffic. It's being out there and earning that as a discovery phase. And there is unfortunately no silver bullet. If it was, it would be great. It would be expensive, but there isn't. So you've got to do a coherent, so you've got to think about it across the different areas, but this multi-strand approach. So that is my bit.